Timmy cannot speak. His world is a series of instinctive sounds, grunts, sudden movements, a gaze that flickers between confusion and something deeper, unreachable. Lorraine, his mother, sits quietly nearby, her face a mask of silent endurance. Her eyes, distant and weary, seem to carry the weight of generations. Pain without words, sorrow without end. Ray, the brother, stands as the family's reluctant spokesperson. His speech is halting, his demeanor protective, as if every word is a shield against the world's judgment. Together, they are not monsters, as some might cruelly suggest, but the living evidence of what happens when a bloodline is trapped by isolation and poverty, forced to fold in on itself for decades. Their home is tucked away in Odd, West Virginia, a place as forgotten as its name suggests. Here, the Whittakers have survived for generations, their lives shaped by the unyielding mountains and the invisible walls of social neglect. The outside world only recently discovered them, and when it did, it was with a mixture of shock, fascination, and too often, ridicule. But to truly see Timmy, Lorraine, and Ray is to confront the devastating legacy of inbreeding, not as a sensational curiosity, but as a human tragedy born from necessity, ignorance, and the failure of society to care for its most vulnerable. Every gesture, every silence in their daily life is a testament to the relentless consequences of genetic collapse. Yet, beneath the surface, there is resilience, a family's quiet determination to protect one another, to endure, even as the world looks on with a mix of pity and disbelief. The Whittaker story is not just about biology, it is about the cost of turning away from those who live at the margins, and the urgent need for compassion over condemnation. What if your life's path, your health, your mind, and even your destiny, was sealed long before you took your first breath? For centuries, we have been fascinated by the dangers of inbreeding, often associating it with the cautionary tales of kings and queens who married within their own families to preserve a pure bloodline. We read about royal dynasties crumbling under the weight of genetic deformities and mental illness, viewing it as a relic of a distant, unenlightened past. But this isn't just history. Deep in the rural heartland of America, a story unfolds that is far removed from crowns and castles, yet echoes the same tragic theme. A family tree that is folded inward upon itself, creating a closed circle where love and blood share the same origin. This is the story of the Whittaker Family of Odd, West Virginia, a real-life narrative that has been called America's most inbred family. Their saga is not one of power-hungry monarchs, but of a clan trapped by circumstance. For generations, they have lived in a state of profound isolation, cut off by geography, poverty, and a lack of opportunity. In this forgotten corner of the Appalachian Mountains, the pool of potential partners dwindled until marrying within the family became a matter of necessity and survival, not choice. The result is a genetic echo chamber, where each new generation inherits the compounded consequences of a limited gene pool. The Whittaker story forces us to confront an uncomfortable truth. The curse of a compromised bloodline is not just an ancient myth, but a modern reality, born from societal neglect. It raises profound questions about our collective responsibility. Why does this still happen in a world of unprecedented progress and connection? Their lives offer a raw, unfiltered portrait of what happens when a community is left behind, where the absence of education, healthcare, and social integration leads to a devastating biological and human cost. This is more than a genetic curiosity. It is a mirror reflecting our own failure to see and care for those living on the margins. The story of the Whittaker family is deeply rooted in the isolation of the Appalachian Mountains in Odd, West Virginia, a rural community where their ancestors settled in the late 1800s. Living as poor farmers, disconnected from the wider world by geography and circumstance, the family's social circle remained incredibly small. Over time, this profound isolation led to a lack of outside partners, forcing the family tree to fold inward upon itself. The critical point in their genetic history began with two identical twin brothers, Henry and John Whittaker. The practice of inbreeding became solidified when children from these two branches of the family married each other. Two of the twins' children, first cousins who were even more genetically similar than typical first cousins, had a family together. One of their sons, John Whittaker, later married his double first cousin, Gracie Whittaker. This union produced children, many of whom were born with significant genetic and developmental disabilities. This pattern of intermarriage, born not out of taboo but out of necessity and a lack of options, continued for generations. The result was a closed loop where the same genetic material was passed down repeatedly, leading to what has been described as a genetic collapse. The severe physical and cognitive challenges seen in family members like Timmy, Ray, and Lorraine are the direct consequences of this long history of inbreeding, compounded by generations of poverty and social neglect in a forgotten corner of America. Their story is not just one of genetics, but of how geographic and social isolation can shape a family's destiny for decades. The Whittaker family's tragic narrative is brought to life through its most prominent members, whose lives starkly illustrate the profound impact of generations of inbreeding and isolation. Among them, Lorraine, Timmy, and Ray stand out as central figures, each embodying different facets of the family's struggle and resilience. Lorraine is often seen as the quiet matriarch, her demeanor marked by a silent endurance. She is the mother of several children, including Timmy, who displays some of the most severe genetic effects. Lorraine's eyes, often described as distant and weary, reflect a deep, unarticulated pain, hinting at decades of quiet suffering. Her limited speech, sometimes just fragmented words, suggests a consciousness burdened by her reality. Timmy, Lorraine's son, is perhaps the most visibly affected member of the family. He is nonverbal, unable to read or write, and communicates primarily through instinctive sounds and movements. His expressions are often described as primal or animalistic, presenting a stark picture of the genetic consequences of the family's lineage. Timmy's condition serves as a poignant, living testament to the genetic echo of generations trapped by their circumstances. Ray acts as the family's primary connection to the outside world. Despite his own communication challenges, which include grunting and barking, he often takes on the role of speaking for the family and interacting with visitors. Ray's protective nature and stuttering speech reveal his efforts to guard his family's dignity against the scrutiny and judgment of outsiders. His ability to communicate in his own way and his awareness of holidays, time, and place highlight a deeper understanding than his outward appearance might suggest. These three individuals, alongside other family members like Betty, collectively represent the complex human cost of the Whittaker family's unique history, compelling observers to look beyond initial shock and consider the societal factors that contributed to their plight. For decades, the Whittaker family lived in relative obscurity, their story confined to the hills of West Virginia. This anonymity was shattered in 2020 when photographer and documentarian Mark Leda discovered them for his project, Soft White Underbelly, which aims to document the stories of those on the fringes of society. His initial encounter was startling. Ray barked, Timmy grunted, and Lorraine remained mostly silent. Leda captured this raw reality on camera and shared it with the world. The impact was immediate and explosive. The videos went viral, accumulating millions of views and turning the Whittakers' private suffering into a global spectacle. Public reaction was fiercely divided. On one hand, a wave of compassion swept across the internet. Viewers donated generously to a GoFundMe campaign Leda established, raising significant funds to improve the family's living conditions with food, shelter, and other necessities. On the other hand, the project ignited a firestorm of controversy. Critics accused Leda of exploitation, labeling his work as poverty porn, and questioning the ethics of exposing such a vulnerable family to public ridicule. The situation grew more complicated when other YouTubers scrutinized Leda's handling of the donations, leading to public disputes that ultimately prompted him to shut down the GoFundMe to shield the family from further drama. The Soft White Underbelly project irrevocably changed the Whittakers' lives. They were no longer just a family in Odd, West Virginia. They became a mirror reflecting uncomfortable truths about poverty, isolation, and societal neglect in modern America. Their story forced a global audience to confront difficult questions about the fine line between raising awareness and sensationalizing human tragedy. It is easy to view the Whittaker family story as a simple, shocking tale of genetic curiosity, but to do so is to miss its profound and unsettling message. The narrative is not merely about the biological consequences of inbreeding. It is a raw and unfiltered critique of societal failure. The true tragedy lies not just in their DNA, but in the systemic issues that created their circumstances: generational poverty, geographic isolation, and a near-total lack of access to education, healthcare, and opportunity. Unlike the inbred royal dynasties of Europe who chose to preserve power, the Whittakers' situation is a consequence of neglect. Their family tree folded inward not out of malice, but out of necessity and a lack of options in a forgotten corner of America. They are a living testament to what happens when a community is left behind, where structural inequality manifests in the most personal and devastating ways. The story forces a difficult question. Why does this still happen today? The answer is not just genetic, but social. Therefore, the core message is a powerful call for compassion over condemnation. Timmy, Lorraine, and Ray are not monsters or a spectacle for entertainment. They are victims of a collective failure to notice, care for, and intervene. Their lives challenge the audience to look beyond the sensationalism and recognize the human beings at the center of the story. A family that, despite its immense challenges, demonstrates resilience and cares for one another. The curse of the Whittakers is not just in their bloodline, it is in the societal choices that allow such suffering to continue in silence, just beyond the edge of our comfort and concern. The Whittaker family story is far more than a shocking case study of inbreeding or an isolated anomaly. It serves as a powerful and poignant reflection on societal failings and the enduring strength of the human spirit. Their tragic circumstances, marked by profound physical and mental challenges, are the undeniable consequence of generations of isolation, severe poverty, and a glaring absence of basic social provisions like education and healthcare. They embody the human cost when communities are left behind, highlighting how systemic issues can manifest in devastating personal realities. Ultimately, the Whittakers are not a spectacle for judgment or ridicule, but rather victims of a collective societal oversight. Their very existence challenges us to look beyond immediate shock and to confront the uncomfortable truth that such conditions persist in a world that prides itself on progress and connection. The curse that afflicts them is not solely biological, but deeply rooted in the broader social choices that allow such suffering to continue unnoticed and unaddressed. Despite the immense adversity they face, the Whittakers demonstrate a remarkable resilience and an unwavering dedication to one another. They continue to live, to care for each other, and to find ways to endure, often in the face of intense public scrutiny and ethical debates surrounding their exposure. Their story compels us to cultivate empathy and understanding, urging a shift from curiosity to compassion. It is a stark reminder that true progress lies not just in technological advancement, but in our collective ability to safeguard the most vulnerable among us, and to prevent similar tragedies from unfolding in the silent, forgotten corners of our world.